All right, what is up, guys? Welcome back to another Transformers review. So continuing on with the next sealed Transformer from my backlog that I'm going to be opening. This one comes to us from the Thrilling 30 line, which was a spin-off of the Generations line in, I want to say, 2013, 2014, if the 30th anniversary is anything to go off of. I do have a couple of figures from this line, primarily the Deluxe Armada Starscream, which is also a sort of pseudo tie-in to the Wingblade comics, I believe. I talked about that a little bit in the Armada Starscream comparison with all three different molds for that character. This is not a figure I particularly had on my radar, but he was traded in, sealed, used to one of my secondhand stores that I was actually working at part-time at the time, and so I could get a discount. It was the same place I got the Sound Blaster and the Titan's Return Astro Train that I did the videos on. So I wanted to go ahead and crack this guy open. It's the only sealed figure I have from the Thrilling 30 line. And I do enjoy this line, the couple figures I have, because they do have the comics that are included. And this guy also has two Target Masters that combine and form a weapon, although I'm not really sure how I feel about that feature. It is cool that they are included. And this guy seemed pretty cool enough. This is Autobot Scoop, and I just thought he looked cool, so I was going to go ahead and check it out. I don't know anything about this mold. I haven't watched any other content creators' videos on it, really looked up anything about it, so this is going to be a completely new experience for me. So let's go ahead and crack this guy open and see what we think. All right, we now have Scoop out of the box and in his alt mode. And this was really interesting going from the last two figures that I opened going to this one, because we went from a very, very simplistic old-fashioned transformation to a much more complex modern one. Now, this guy's not super complex by any means, but he is much more modern in terms of engineering than what I was reviewing before, and that does make sense considering the gulf of time between when those figures came out and when this one did, even though this one is more than a decade old at this point. So really interesting, intricate transformation, nothing too complex. They didn't really do a whole lot with his legs. They kind of just flip forward on the knees and connect where they are. But the way that the torso pivots in the center right here, and the way that the arms kind of fold up to where they are, it means that there's like this nice gap in there, not trying to hide any robot parts in there. His head is concealed underneath the canopy there, and it does have the nice, movable articulated scoop thing, which has like 3 different points of articulation, and it's pretty nice. It's a nice little front loader vehicle. It doesn't have the nicest color scheme in the world. I'm not that big of a fan of the orange, but I suppose that's the color that it should be. It has a phenomenal set of wheels that roll extremely well, better than probably any alt mode I've handled in a long time, as it rolls off the display table here. And the quality of the plastic feels really nice. There's all of the glossy plastic feels really nice compared to, the sort of softer matte plastic that you sometimes see. So lots of parts of this guy feel very nice and sturdy, and it just has a nice feel to it. So I think this mode is overall really solid for a deluxe. It accomplishes what it's supposed to accomplish quite nicely. Doesn't have that much detail going on. I think this bit right here is done pretty well, with some decent amount of detail, in spite of the fact that, of course, it's the painted translucent plastic for the canopy, as it has to be. But yeah, I really think they did a fantastic job with this alt mode. And the robot mode I'm not quite as crazy about, but we'll go ahead and get to that now. All right, and now we have Scoop in his robot mode. And I actually had lowered the tripod down a little bit because this guy is quite a bit smaller than the other figures we've been looking at. I'm also really surprised, coming off of the long rack guy from the Cybertron line, just how simple and symmetrical his robot mode is. Perfectly symmetrical, good proportions, normal looking Autobot robot design, very typical of what you'd expect from Transformers. Not really a whole lot of interesting things going on with this robot mode, but I kind of like it for that reason. I like that it's very standard, what you would expect, and just a good looking robot overall. I wasn't quite sure what to do with the titular Scoop itself. I suppose you can fold it down like this and get it out of the way of his shoulders, but then he's a little bit more back heavy. You can fold it all the way down, I guess, if you want, but I kind of like it up here where it's visible like that. I just kind of like the look of that. But the biggest problem with this robot mode, as I'm sure most people would figure out pretty quickly, is that he really doesn't have anything in the way of heel support. There's nothing that nothing that flips out from inside of there or anything like that. There's really no heel support. If he had a piece that extended out back here, he would be a lot more stable. The toe part does articulate like this as part of the transformation, but other than that, his feet not being very stable really hinders this robot mode quite a bit. Now, he does have some cool things going for him. I really, really like the chest. I like the blue vent and the gray vent right here. And the head does look okay. The gray doesn't blend in with the orange that well, but it does have blue light piping, which I did mention as a feature that kind of went away from more modern figures. And his articulation does have a good amount of good sensibility to it. His head, his hips, and his shoulders are on ball joints. And he does have above the knee thigh rotation on like a little mushroom peg there. So you can do all the more dynamic poses with that. And his arms have good articulation as well. I do like how, his shoulders are on a ball joint, but you can also move this hinge up and down up here as part of the transformation. So you can get his shoulder nice and low like that and have the other one up high. There's a lot you can do there. But the big problem with that I have is that his whole shoulder joints can rotate like so, as you can see right here as part of the transformation, because you're meant to flip this piece down and flip his whole shoulder thing forward like that for the alt mode. And that means that by trying to rotate his shoulder at the ball joint here, you can end up, if you don't hold the chest in place, you end up rotating the entire thing. And so it makes him a lot more difficult to handle and a lot more difficult to pose. And then not being able to really rest his ankles anywhere, just kind of disappointing in the posability standpoint. Not because they didn't provide him with good articulation. They did a great job with the articulation. It's that there's just certain design sensibilities about his robot mode that makes it difficult for him to hold a pose without falling over. And I think that the ankles are definitely the worst offenders there by a huge, or not the ankles, but the heels are a huge offender there. But the only other thing this guy has going for him is he does have the 2 target masters, which I'm not sure if they are actually even named. I didn't see any naming on the box, but they look cool. These guys are a little bit more detailed and a little more dynamic than the ones we would get in Titans Returns, even if they have an absolutely hideous color scheme that I don't particularly care for. But lots of nice molded in detail there. I like the little hoses running up this guy, and the guy has like a different painted face and different painted eyes, and he has arms on ball joints and everything. His legs don't move at all. But the main gimmick with these is, they're target masters, so they turn into guns. So gun flips over the head like that, and the arms fold together like so and peg into each other. I wish there was something else you could do with the legs, because the feet are just kind of sticking out back here. But you fold down the gun handle and peg that into his hand if it wants to go there. And then we have, Target Master, which does look pretty cool. Again, I think the color scheme in these guys is pretty ugly. The bright, like, electric blue and, like, yellow are a pretty eye-searing color combination there. So that's a little unfortunate, but... And then this one's cool because it looks like it has 3 barrels. It looks like it has the 1 here and the 2 here from what used to be the robot mode's shoulders. So that's pretty cool. I do like that as a gimmick. And again, the articulation with his shoulders up there does make it a lot easier for him to hold up this really long gun and for it to not become too front heavy to where he falls over. So I guess having like really cool shoulder articulation really goes a long way with this guy, but I definitely wish that there was something to circumvent the ankle heel problem, because that's a pretty huge detriment in terms of his posability. But you can still do poses like this that are pretty cool. So overall, I do like this guy quite a bit, but I can't say that I would really recommend him. He does have some pretty glaring flaws. And again, I think the Thrilling 30 line is not popular among fans, so some of you guys are probably already aware of this. But considering how cheap I got this guy for, brand new in box, I definitely think it was worth it, and I'm definitely having some fun with him. So that's pretty much all I have to say about Autobot Scoop from the Thrilling 30 line. And I will see you guys next time with some more sealed Transformers from my backlog. I only have 2, maybe 3 more to go before I'm done with this little mini series. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.